Serialization of The Zany Time Travels of Warble McGorkle, Chapter 4 of 61. Warble gets an attitude adjustment. The Irodnap, Comfy explains to Warble, was patterned after, as far as its appearance goes, that is, George Jetson's spaceship. Albert, enthused as he is about the machine, can't help expounding on Comfy's pitch. In fact, its full name is Irodnap JNG for Jetson's Next Generation. Comfy waves Albert to silence, saying in effect, "Let me handle this." And furthermore, Comfy explains to Warble, the Irodnap can comfortably carry 8 passengers, 2 in the front, with the pilot's seat on the left, a control console in the middle, and the co-pilot seat on the right, although a co-pilot isn't strictly necessary, as it's fundamentally an honorary designation. 3 on the bench seat behind, and 3 more in the bench seat at the rear of the craft. Again, Albert can't control his enthusiasm, which knows no bounds as regards the Irodnap. He just has to tell Warble, basically, the Irodnap is flown like a combination airplane/helicopter. It has VTOL capabilities like a helicopter, but once hovering at the desired altitude, moves forward like a jet. VTOL? Warble asks. Oh, excuse my pushy and verbose friend, Comfy says, making an apologetic gesture with one hand and whispering to Albert behind his other hand to keep quiet. Facing Warble again, Comfy explains VTOL stands for vertical, takeoff, and landing. You don't need a long runway, or any runway for that matter. You can land anywhere, as the Irodnap has rotatable jets. Warble is confused. All down but 9. Set him up on the other alley, pard. Albert tries to explain it this time. The jets can be moved from the rear of the Irodnap to the center, or even to the front, allowing you to fly in reverse, something no conventional plane can do. I see, Warble says, still not understanding. Comfy perceives that Warble still doesn't quite get it, regardless of what he claims, so he takes up where Albert left off. When taking off and landing in VTOL mode, the jets automatically rotate to the bottom on this sliding rail, Albert notes excitedly, proud as can be of the Irodnap and its bleeding-edge features, pointing to the forward terminus of the rail, ending at the craft's nose. Right, Comfy says, resuming his explanation, but you, the pilot, don't have to worry about that. The position of the jets are rotated automatically when you press the start button to take off or the land button. Albert jumps in again. Actually, when you do so, press the land button that is, the jets are first moved to the front for reverse thrust to slow down the forward momentum until you are moving neither forward nor backward. When you begin to hover in place, the jets are then rotated to the bottom and the pressure emanating from the jets is gradually reduced until you touch down. Right. Comfy again agrees with the mechanic. So really all you have to do to fly this beauty is to press the start button to take off and the land button when you want to come in for a landing. It's very simple and user-friendly. You steer it exactly as you would a car, using the steering wheel. Yoke, Albert corrects. Whatever, Comfy says, getting a little miffed at Albert's constant interruptions and corrections. And you control your speed and rate of acceleration using this lever here, he adds, pointing to the handle between the 2 front seats, which looks more or less like a car's shifter. You can think of it as a sort of gas pedal, Comfy explains to Warble. Albert rolls his eyes and grunts, obviously disagreeing. Comfy fixes Albert with a stare and repeats, "It is basically like a gas pedal, isn't it, Albert?" Albert shrugs. "You could say that," he admits. But rather than operating on a graduated continuum, it has 11 click levels, and once you let your hand off of it, the Rodnap will remain at the corresponding TPM. Comfy gives Albert a dirty look. He knows what TPM stands for, but he doesn't want to confuse the potential customer with arcana like that. What's TPM? Warble predictably asks. Thrusts per millisecond, Albert answers. It's how many units of propelling energy are sent through the thrusters or the jets. So it's basically speed or miles per hour? Warble asks. Sure, he's got it, and wanting to impress Albert and Comfy with his quick understanding of the details. That's right, and not exactly. Comfy and Albert simultaneously, respectively, if not respectfully in the latter case, say. Comfy throws Albert another dirty look. Albert ignores it and goes on. Actually, your speed is based not just on the TPM setting, but also your attitude. What's my attitude got to do with it? Warble asks, defensively and a little huffily, misunderstanding again and wondering if Albert is trying to make a fool of him by pulling his leg. Not your attitude, the attitude of the Rodnap, Albert explains. Warble is more confused than ever and says, Don't throw down another chip until I've had a look at my cards. What do you mean, the attitude of the Rodnap? How can an inanimate object have an attitude? You're not trying to tell me this thing is actually alive, are you? Warble asks, looking suspiciously at the craft and warily taking a step back. Comfy elbows Albert aside and steps between Warble and Albert. No, not at all, he explains, gently grabbing the tip of Warble's elbow and leading him back around to the side of the Rodnap to a position from which Comfy thinks the craft looks best. What Albert means by attitude is engineer speak or techno jargon for the angle of the craft through the air. He explains, using his right hand as an example, holding fingers and thumb together and pointing straight out from his wrist, raising his hand shoulder high and changing the position of his hand in relation to the horizon. First angling his hand up, then down, then rolling it to the left and the right. Oh, now I get it, Warble says. That kind of attitude. Comfy adds the final bit of information Warble will need to know to control the craft. To change the attitude or pitch of the Rodnap, pull the steering wheel or yoke toward you to pull the nose up and gain altitude, or push it down into the steering column to push the nose down and reduce altitude. Just like an airplane, Warble says, positive he understands this time. Just like an airplane, Comfy echoes. Now, for the final exciting feature. The Rodnap's patented, not to mention copyrighted and trademarked, shrinker/deshrinker device.